Okay, I'd like to tie in hunting parties or police, animal extinction, and racism together, because I think that there's a lot of relevance there. Historically, police weren't so important back in the early days. You have those cultures where they had tribes of less than 1,000 people. They didn't really need police. They needed good hunters to protect the populations from the wild animals, because there were a lot of outside threats besides what threats we had between humans. And besides that, there wasn't a lot of like valuable stuff that people coveted from each other. So the policing just wasn't as important. You look at the hunting parties, and they just completely exterminated all kinds of animals from the buffalo. You see those skulls piled high, people sitting on them, like 50 feet high of the buffalo skulls that hunters just shot without any good reason. And then you hear about passenger pigeons and how hunters are just shooting them in droves caused that extinction. We all know about the dodo bird that would just walk up to the sailors and allow them to exterminate them on that island. A lesser known historical reference is in Washington, around the northwest area, where the bears were a big problem, tearing down the saplings of the tree from the tree farms. So they had to exterminate them, and they killed off in droves. They had annual bear parties where the hunters would go in and just slaughter bears. I think during the mating season or something, they probably timed the hunting to actually eradicate the bears the most effectively. You know, nowadays it's hunting is supposed to be for sport, to not eradicate the animals. But back in the day, they targeted the animals to take them out permanently, more permanently. Because the wild animals or whatever were a big problem. I had this hunter who drove like 100 miles to see some elk on the coast of California. There's a protected elk zone, and he drove the 100 miles just to see the elk. And they're on a reserve. I don't think that they can be hunted. There's only like 200 of them. I saw about 60 of them, and he asked me, you know, where they were and all that stuff. But he was that motivated to drive out all those miles, and he didn't stay long. He only stayed maybe like a half an hour. And he was that motivated to see elk, live elk that could be shot, potentially shot, which I don't think is something that'll be allowed, since there's not that many. But people are motivated to hunt, and because there's such a lack of wild animals now, because our guns are so efficient, the technology to hunt is so efficient and so advanced that we're left with targeting each other. So you join the police force, and you join the hunting party pretty much. Now, who do you target? You target criminals, all right. And there's certain types of races that tend to be more criminalistic. You know, police don't have to protect us from wild animals so much, more like wild people. All right, that's as close as we can get to wild animals. There's no bear on the loose, and we got to catch it. It's more a matter of an individual is on the loose, and we got to catch him. We got to hunt him down, call in the search party, and try to eradicate this menace. I mean, Indians were a problem for a while, but I mean, we're talking 1800s, and we were pretty advanced in the 1800s. No, it was more wild animals, and no, we can't really decipher. We can't really appreciate the differences between animals as much because we just don't see them. I travel from city to city just for the fun of it, but it's not that fun. Because I'd really like to be in the woods and checking things out, but it's just so restricted. There's just so many no trespassing orders and fences, and then you got to pay money to sleep in a tightly grouped knit area that sometimes they only allow it to be a seasonal camping group area, and you got to pay like $20-$30, and I don't have that kind of money, so it's too expensive for me to go out into the woods all the time and follow their rules, which the woods generally, well, the woods has human rules, but it doesn't have nature rules. Well, there's rules of nature, but those rules change, I think. So the hunting parties have turned into the police, and we're no longer hunting wild animals. So there's humans we have to decipher from. All right, we can't appreciate the keen differences between animals so much. I mean, there's certain animals that are allowed in the cities, like cats and dogs, but they generally have to be bred to be friendly. If they're not friendly, yeah, they'll risk their chances of getting shot. But since we can't really appreciate the differences between other animals besides humans, humans look at each other and try to gauge each other, okay? And that races really do help with identification, giving a race. I mean, even the national census asks what race, you know? That's just how it works. And just all this racism stuff is just going to get worse, because we're causing more animals to go extinct. More humans are populating the earth, taking the place of all these animals. So we're left up with just looking at each other. I mean, we could look at books to look at animals. That's about it. Watch some video of African animals chasing each other, but we really want to see things more in real life and see what we can. I could. It's hard for me to travel anywhere without seeing humans. Okay, it's just so I'm gonna see all kinds of humans, different kinds, and that's just something I have to put up with. It's kind of annoying because I really like to see a very different animal running around, and because the mannerisms are really just, it can be entertaining for long periods of time. You wonder why the animal acts a certain way, but with humans, you're left up with just looking at the subtle differences between them. And well, since we see humans so much, it's just like, okay, well, I guess I'm paying attention to humans more, and I'm seeing patterns develop between the races. Okay, and then that becomes, more knowledgeable. You become more aware of it, and then you start trying to predict how a person's going to act based on they look. And I mean, that's fair. It's not a sin to try to predict how a person's going to act by the way they look. I mean, Chinese face reading is a discipline that really has developed to support that. It's not wrong to think that.